Hey guys, new video here. It is November 20th. Atlas changes in Path of Exile. Conquerors Atlas forum post just came out giving us the bare bones, like how the Atlas works. We have some screenshots from the landing page. We have some more just like some like basic strategies. So this video is gonna be talking about that. There's gonna be a lot of speculation. We don't know actually all the mechanics going into it. So if I miss anything, I get something wrong, something might change in the future. Well, my bad. Okay, but it is so exciting that I thought I'd make a video on it, just outlining the points, I guess, if you don't like to do reading or you don't always like check Reddit or the forums or even Twitter with or YouTube with someone explaining the thing. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so the first big thing is that there's no more annoying like purple circles for the the Shaper and the Elder. Thematically, like lore wise, they are no longer fighting. That is over because we did a lot of maps in the past, and so basically they're no longer fighting, and you do not have to get the influence or do a map that Zana says to get your initial Shaper's orb and to progress that quest. So I think that's pretty great. I never really like that anyways, especially if it spawns somewhere where you just couldn't get it over there, or for newer players it might frustrate them, turn them off to the game. So that's great. Also, I think it's gonna be faster to get additional tiers, right, because of the new watchstone system. Like before, you were upgrading your tier 1s, then your 2s, then your 3, then your 4, and then eventually you get multiple upgrades for a certain tier, right? Like for example, like tier 10 you can have more, like tier 9, all that stuff. And that was kind of it was pretty quick. I mean, you could do this within a day or two, but it was still kind of tedious. Now, the way that's going to work initially is that for the Conquerors Atlas, you start in the middle, which isn't really that different from starting in the corners. It's just reverse. It looks different. It's kind of cool. But the mechanic is you can insert up to 4 watchstones, and then it will upgrade the tiers all at once, right? And unlock new tiers. And so what they showed in the little clip is that you insert the stone, boom, little flash goes off. I don't know if that'll be in the game, but then all the maps have upgraded. Some you can see going from white to yellow, yellow to red, and some that weren't there before. It spreads out a little bit, shrinks a little bit, and brings more maps onto the Atlas, right? And they've said that, and this once again, all this stuff could change. They said that if you have all 4 of the watchstones in a certain area, there are 8 areas as of right now, like sections, like little borders, then all of the maps in that section will have will be tier 14 to tier 16, and that is kind of huge for reasons we'll go over in a bit. The thing that excites me most about this watchstone system is that it's a lot cleaner than the Shaper's orb and Elder's orb system, and a lot faster to just get right into the end game of PoE while having kind of shaking things up. The Warful L stuff is getting a little bit stale, and so basically if all your maps can get to 14 to 16, that means that also the unique maps can also get to 14 to 16. That's pretty crazy, right? Because as you know, the unique maps are on the Atlas. And the things that come to mind is basically first the Coward's Trial. Okay, Coward's Trial is a unique map, and basically how it works is there are, I believe, 4 levels, right? So right now, let's say you have in this example, let's say you have a tier 16 Coward's Trial, just as an example. The first room, the floor, is tier 16. The next floor is 17, 18, and the last floor with the boss on it is actually a tier 19 map, essentially, for that room, for those monster spawns, and for the boss. So this leads to kind of cool stuff, like for example, you might do rotas, because they did say that to kind of balance this, right, because you have Poor Joys as well, they might make the unique maps a lot more rare, okay, possibly a lot more rare. And what this leads to, if you think of how rare a pure Chayula Breachstone is, right, then we can kind of assume that it will be expensive. And if it is expensive, then we might see a return of rotas, right? Rotations, 6-man rotas, where each person does 3 maps, because 3 maps means that you can put the sextants on the Coward's Trial, right? And Coward's Trial is affected by not that many sextants, actually very few sextants, but things like worm barrels for XP works, bodyguards will spawn, poisonous monsters will spawn, but the other elements won't spawn. And there's a couple others that I'm missing that don't really matter too much, but but there might be some changes to the sections as well. So it's kind of cool how these rotations might take place. Currently in my testing, I think that the rate at which you can run them and how you kind of dictate the speed of the map and how good it feels, the Poor Joy's Asylum is extremely good for gem XP, and with support gems plus taking many times more XP than a normal gem, you know, you might see some Poor Joy's rotas to level up quick support gems plus. Now they said there's like 35 of those support gem pluses. That's a lot. Like if you use if you use like the meta skills, right, you're gonna have a lot of those meta support gems to level up, so that might be pretty nice. So there's probably some other cool maps out there that might be worth doing, but these are the two that come to mind. They are really fun. They're right now they're really available, but that could lead to some nice like meta defining leveling stuff too, because right now for leveling you can get from like level let's say you end the campaign at level 65 or something, and you can get to level 80 unbelievably quickly with the regular Coward's Trial. So like let's say you're a level 80 character and you do like T16 Coward's Trials. I don't even want to imagine how fast you can get to like 95 and beyond, because the reason is the way that the XP works is there's kind of like a less multiplier that's been added into the game artificially, because Chris and company, they don't think they should get to level 100 that easily, and I actually agree with that. And so at level 95 to 96, I think it's like a 12.5%, something like that, less multiplier across the board. At level 99 to 100, there is a 50% less multiplier just blanketed onto your character, right? And on top of this, there's even another thing at play, which is in case you didn't know, if your character is above the map level, you will eventually start to get less XP. So I don't know the exact numbers. I could probably pull up a calculator or something, but let's say like you're level 99 and you're doing a 68 map, you're gonna get barely any XP, even if it's like double beyond it. But if you're doing a T16 map, you'll get, maybe a couple percent XP, 1 or 2% XP, right? I'll look at the exact numbers later. But if you jump up in tiers from there, from like 16 to 19, even for a single floor, right? Even for like a single floor of a few hundred monsters, that is enormous XP a jump, like in the form of a more multiplier, right? It is truly like a more, sometimes maybe even double or triple. I'll double check the numbers once again. So that's just like super exciting. And maybe we'll have another Legion situation where like everyone feels forced to do this, because if you want to start a new character and you're really fast at the campaign, let's say you can get the campaign done in a couple hours, right? 2.5, 3 hours with your twink gear, and then you can get to like level 95 within 30 minutes, 40 minutes. That's kind of crazy, and so that like leads to a whole other can of worms. But yeah, that's something that could happen. Another cool thing is that because the unique maps are tied to the tier after stocking the watchstones, what's going to happen is that means that the Coward's Trial drops league specifics. So every headhunter that drops is quantity corruption viable, right? Because I think you need like 84 for that. So that's also another cool thing. Another thing to go over like watchstones a tiny bit more is we know that there will also be like unique watchstones, so that could lead to all sorts of kind of cool effects, right? And then also like in terms of like almost like league stones, kind of, where there's like different effects on it, although the basic idea of it was the same. And then it seems that from what they said at ExileCon, you might encounter a Conqueror every like 6 maps or so. Conquerors start out with 4 citadels in each section, right? And sections once again are bordered by those like yellow lines. And so what that means is it's kind of exciting, because if there's 4 of them initially, doesn't that mean that the 5th one, right? Because we saw 5 exiles, doesn't that mean the 5th one will be the rarest one, like the Chayula basically of this league, or like the really rare Lich, or like how like every group of boss fights has like the rare one. For example, in Legion, Legion, there's only like 4 factions, right? Is there 5? There's maybe 4 or 5. 5. I think there's 5. Yeah, there's 5 because of the 5-way map device. And Akuna of the Maraketh is the most rare by far, right? So it could be that kind of situation where maybe that really rare guy that spawns sometimes on a citadel will drop the unique stones, or like have some other cool effects, right? Because you can only stock at 4, but there's 5 exiles. Who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen there? So that's pretty amazing. And then now, additionally, a big part of this new strategy is that, and some people might say this as bad or good, but the tiers of the maps, if it's between 14 and 16, Neon from Grinding Gear Games has said that you might have some regions which have 1 T16 and others which have 2 or 3. This is subject to change, right? But that is what they've initially said, and they're probably not done yet because they pushed out the release of the 3.9 a week, so they're probably like working on some minutia there, right? Another thing is that sextant modifiers. Okay, this is actually kind of huge. Sextant modifiers are now no longer shared between one another. So I'm gonna pull up a chart up here, and this chart is basically, if you see a 1, right, the 1 is for like a low level requirement, means it's a white sextant as of right now. 73 I think is a yellow, and then the other one was a 79, 81, I don't even know what it is. I think it's like 79 or something. That is maybe 78 actually. That is a red. Okay, and what this new change means, as we understand it right now, is that if you roll a red, right, and remember we can have 4 sextants applied to the entire region, it can't roll the yellow or the white ones, and that's insane. And if you roll a yellow, right, yellow's actually like pretty nice sweet spot, you can't roll any of the reds or the whites. Now, why is this so important? Because right now, if you roll a white sextant, right, obviously you can get all the things in the white sextant roll, that doesn't matter. If you roll a yellow sextant on a yellow map, right now you have to use a yellow sextant on a yellow map. What that means is that you can get all the yellow sextants, right? On average, they're a little bit more rare, but you can also pull from a pool of all the white sextants. So if you use 4 yellows, you might not get the Harbinger one, which is insane, or the Polished Scarab one, which is insane. You could just roll the white ones, right? And because of the weighting, we know from PoEDB and from just playing the game that some of them are weighted heavily, right? So these weightings could change because of this as well, but what it means is that yellow and red sextants will probably be very, very expensive, because if you look above at the red sextants, so things like Nemesis 3 currencies, Beyond, that is like so ridiculous, Gilded Scarab, which is ridiculous. If you roll 4 red sextants, someone can do the math, right? Like out of the possibilities, which ones are the ones that are like really juicy, and what are your likeness of getting one of those, right? You can do the math, like the combination permutation system, and you can see that it is very likely that you'll get something amazing if you use colored sextants. So from just gameplay experience, we know that Harbingers in yellow and the Scarab sextants, white, yellow, and red, are quite common, right? If you roll that, if you were using that color on the correct map. And so what that means is that if you do a 3 boss map and you do the Harbingers, if you roll all yellows, you are pretty likely to get either a Harbinger or a Scarab roll, and that always pays for all the costs. Currently it pays for the cost of like everything that you're using on the map, because it's so profitable, and also so fun because you can use the Scarabs. For the whites are like the same thing, right? But the reds, you know, if we know that Scarabs are pretty common across the tiers of sextants, then getting like that many usable gilded Scarabs could be ridiculous, right? And also like the Beyond, well, from PoEDB we know that across all sextant rolls, like Hunted Traders, which is can be a white sextant, is like a 0.33% chance. We know that Nemesis is a 0.66% chance. So once again, there might be some change in weighting, but it could really shake up like what you're choosing to use. Because for example, let's say if you use like 4 red sextants and you find that it is extremely easy because the Nemesis and the other ones are weighted differently now, but it's really easy to get Beyond, because that's not like instant loot, right? You have to like juice the map in other ways to take advantage of the Beyond, and your character has to be built a certain way to effectively farm the Beyond. Then you might be like, whoa. Then what that means is that if I can get Beyond on average in 4 red sextants, and Beyond on average I know takes about 20C to roll onto a map with the explicit roll, then what that means is that with the sextant for 3 maps, that red sextant, 4 red sextants, should be 60C, right? And then each sextant broken down, if you're only farming the Beyond, to you is a worth of about 15C each, right? That's like kind of like the mental. PoE never works this way because of the trade is always so weird, and different timings affect things. But this is like the things you think about from like an opportunity cost standpoint to yourself, right? And that's really cool because now early on you might sell sextants and then buy them back later. You know, you don't really know what's going on, but it is like super exciting. Okay, and as for the as for the watchstones, now we don't know much about the slotting. There have been kind of like glowy brain theories as to like, what if you can have 3 watchstones in this area and they're blocked, right? You roll bad sextants on them, like really bad yellow, I mean even white, even red sextants that you don't want to roll, and then you put in the 4th one and you roll a good one on that 4th sextant, right? Sextant blocking, because you can't roll 2 of the same sextant on the same tiers of maps or on the same group of maps. And so when you use that final red sextant, yellow sextant, what have you, you are much more likely to get a good one. And then you take out the watchstone and put it back into a region where that you want, right? And you just keep doing that to guarantee good rolls on the region. And we know you can get like many 8 times 4 is 32. You can get like 32 watchstones socketed at a time. So that could be kind of interesting too, right? Maybe sextant blocking returns, but they don't like sextant blocking. They'll probably think of that, probably, right? And they'll probably won't allow you to do that. Or when you take out the watchstone, it removes the sextant or something like that with like a warning thingy. So who knows? But if you can do that, what if there's trade, right? You could trade the watchstone to someone else. You could trade beyond watchstones and stuff like that. Wow, this is like kind of cool. And then you save all the busy work. So, you know, like red sextants and yellow sextants are gonna allow for like the omega juicing of these maps, and especially there's beyond on the map device. Oh my god, I don't want to think about it. Another thing is that like the shaper mechanic, right? The shaper mechanic is actually changed. In terms, shaper and elder influence are removed. So right now you do a map with shaper influence, elder influence, you can get those types of background items. Now they're interesting 4 other types of background items alongside this, and what this means is that the on the atlas itself, that those 2 backgrounds are going away. So how can we get them back? Well, they're just reversing the scarab mechanic. If you use a shaper scarab with a map, you will turn that map into an influence map, right? Whereas right now you can only use a shaper or elder scarab if the background is already there for more shaper, elder, or rolls, right? So yeah, this is kind of cool how they're flipping that around, and now elder and shaper scarabs will have some use, right? If you want to do some farming that way, and I really like that. As for the explicit mods on the maps, right? Like when you roll a map and you get like avoidance, or you get like 40% physical reduction or something like that, or a chance to avoid bleed and poison. An explicit is coming to the map that can add elder or shaper influence, and that's kind of cool because that's a good. I would consider that a good mod on there no matter what, because it always gives more monsters now. And so what that means is if that also blocks a bad mod, hey, maps are overall a slight little bit juicier, right? Along with this, like, because like on the atlas itself there's no more shaper strongholds or influence or elder influence, you can't do like shaper strongholds anymore, like permanent ones, which doesn't matter because like that fell out of the meta with the master mission shift in 3.8. For people playing the game right now, there is a hideout called the Celestial Hideout. It is not purchasable. You cannot be invited in afterwards after your friend gets it. For example, right now, most of the hideouts, let's say you're farming the Arboreal Hideout in the terrace, and your friend finds it in his terrace. He goes in, he kills all the monsters, he talks to Helena, gets the hideout, easy game. He then goes into global chat or guild chat or whispers you and says, hey, come get this hideout. All you have to do is go in and talk to Helena. You now have the hideout. The Celestial Hideout from killing Shaper is the only one of the last things in the game that is pure farming, in terms of you have to be there for the kill. At the time that Shaper dies, if you're inside the Shaper fight, then you have a chance of obtaining that hideout. Otherwise, you cannot get it. Now, obviously, you can farm this by having people invite you in for their shaper kill, doing rotas, other things, but it is like the last bastion of actual farming for like some nice cosmetic or some nice like loot, right? Because everything else you can just like buy with exalts or chalice orbs or what have you, right? It's really easy. The shaper one is pretty tough. So the reason I bring this up is that the Shaper and Elder and Uber Elder fights are now going to be keyed, and they're going to be from the Zana missions, okay? And so what that means is you cannot just, right now, you can run Uber Elder and you can run Shaper endlessly, right? Pretty much because of the cost as well as the way that you spawn in Uber Elder, right? It is deterministic, it is extremely fast and easy. So with that gone, it will be much more expensive if you want to buy the fragments for the Shaper to farm the Shaper Celestial Hideout. So I would get that done now. It is about a 1% chance after talking to a lot of people, seeing like the average drop rate, so to speak. So 100 Shaper zones should on average get you the Shaper Hideout. Many people have gotten it in the first one, in the first 5. You know, it took me 41. I tracked that because there was a challenge this league of killing the Shaper. So it took me exactly 41 attempts to get the Hideout. So do that now if you care about like cosmetics like this. Okay. Now, another thing to talk about, because you know people are always going to wonder, how do you get these items? All these items are going to be expensive, and yes, the Shaper and the Elder items are going to be very expensive, right? Especially the Uber Elder items. But also because like Solstice Virgil and Dying Sun are so core to a lot of builds, that, and it's gonna be a bow build league, those are gonna be insane, right? And how do you get them? So you'll get them from the Zana that you encounter when you talk to her. There's a chance that Elder, like a regular Elder, not an Uber Elder, will accompany will take over the map boss of one of those maps. We don't know what that looks like or what that, you know, if there's like a notification or something, but that is one way to get a Elder fight for the Watcher's Eye. And since with the Watchstone system, most of your maps are probably going to be yellow or above, you will be able to get a Watcher's Eye. And the Shaper, same way. You can get a Hydro, Minotaur, Ponix, or a Chimera just from talking to Zava, kind of like how you can right now. So it's same method. And then they still have their unique items, they still have their fragments. 4 fragments goes into the Shaper fight, and there you go. Right, so obviously you can buy these later, but trust me, they're gonna be a lot more expensive. And so it is much more RNG. They said they might look at bringing Cortex rate up a little bit, so maybe it won't be too RNG, but it'll still be definitely rare. If it's as rare as, like, let's say an Untainted Paradise or something, then you guys better watch out, because like these items are gonna be like 20, like Dying Sun might be like 20, 30, 40, 50 exalts, kind of like a Bottled Faith is right now. But I'll say Dying Sun is much better than a Bottled Faith. So it's kind of scary, but also kind of like gets you jazzed, right? Because there's not that many chase items in the game anymore, and they're doing things to make there be more chase items from the existing pool, which is really smart of them, right? Okay, other things is the Uber Elder will also be I think like a keyed system. Uber Elder and Shaper can both drop keys for Uber Elder. Okay, so it's probably gonna be 4 keys, and I love that because I've always advocated for a keyed system behind these endgame bosses, so that if you want to just buy the encounter, you can, right? Because at Ziri, Uber at Ziri, Shaper, you can just buy the keys, right? That's pretty cool. So overall, that's a good thing, I'd say. Let's talk about Watcher's Eyes, because a lot of people are scared about Watcher's Eyes. So because Elder can just take over a map boss from the Zana map mission, I believe that there will overall be way more 2 mod Watcher's Eyes, okay? Because think about it. How do you get Watcher's Eyes right now? You need a yellow, red Elder or an Uber Elder. Now, most people do not farm Uber Elder, right? There's a lot of Watcher's Eyes out there, but it's from like very few people. Now there is also the getting the Elder just randomly on the Atlas, and that's weird because you need like 20 plus Elder takeovers. Most new players don't know how to do that, or they don't want to do that because you have to do variety maps. Most experienced players don't want to do that because like lots of time we just like leave our Elder and let them disappear, come back, disappear, come back, because like we just want to farm our one map. And now if you just get an Elder, as long as you know that the Elder is going to be there, you don't have to like go into the Zaba and clear the map first. If you know it's going to be there, a lot more people are just gonna like do that map and just do the Elder, because a regular Elder fight, normal yellow red, I would say that fight is even easier than Shaper. And if you know how easy Shaper is, then regular Elder is a complete clown fiesta. It's a joke, right? And so because of that, more 2 mods will drop. And the 3 mods, obviously, regarding the Uber Elder, much more rare. And people do bring up a good point that like most of the 2 mods you get are 2 mods on a 3 mod Watcher's Eye, because that's just how people farm the Watcher's Eyes. So overall, though, I think there's gonna be a lot more Watcher's Eyes out there. I don't think they have to worry about 2 mod Watcher's Eyes. I mean, hell, even 1 mod Watcher's Eyes are fine. You don't need, with the power creep these days, you don't need a 2 mod, right? But yeah, 2 mods will be I think more accessible actually, and then obviously 3 mod will be will be nearly impossible, I would say, to really expect, right? And these days, like, no one really needs the 3 mods. It's just like kind of a cool thing to have on standard if you're that kind of player. Okay. So don't worry too much about the Watcher's Eyes, because all the noobs who have like running yellow maps, people who don't play like 8 hours, 10 hours a day, running the yellow maps will eventually like accidentally kill like like the normal elders, right? And they'll bring those Watcher's Eyes onto the market. So that's pretty much wrapping up my thoughts about the Atlas changes. And then next I'll go over the Conquerors League as a whole. Okay, so here's the landing page for Conquerors of the Atlas. They have a very nice trailer, which you saw playing before in this video. Basically, the lore is that we were farming the maps too much, so we went a little bit crazy. Zana locks us away in the Atlas, and then we find a way to escape, and now we're evil. Okay, so that's like the old us. That's actually us, like the player base that it has. Are the antagonists of this league, which is pretty cool, right? Because now you're kind of like a new exiles here. So let's see, really cool imagery here. Here's a picture of Santa Claus, and he's this is probably the Inquisitor, right? Now, or not Inquisitor, but just the Templar overall. So 5 new endgame bosses. They are basically like juiced up exiles. Once again, from what we've heard of ExileCon, you might encounter these 1 every 6 maps or something like that, or at least like 4 initial citadels, which they stay in each region initially. If you see the imagery of from the trailer where the guy's walking up the stairs of that giant tower in the icy layout, right? He's wearing like the Arctic polar bear set, and there's like the exile at the top. That's probably like going up to a trial. Kind of hilarious because like walking up the stairs, you're gonna lose all your charges, you're gonna lose all your header buffs, and yeah, it's gonna be kind of scary, right? But they look pretty powerful, they look pretty fun. This is the winged this is the winged waifu exile, right? Does some ice attacks. It's like some weird like pseudo Winter's Orb kind of thing. This imagery is actually kind of cool because you have this sword, giant cloud sword but like you see the lines in the ground there. The lines actually make the sword look like it's like huge, like really big. And this is one also. That is the Zenith set, so that's actually not a new MTX set, but look at these set pieces, right? Pretty good, looks pretty modern, a lot better than some of the older boss fights right here. Like look at this arena right here, right? It just looks amazing. The back attachment on this guy looks insane. Hopefully that can drop. This guy's not using the Mirage Archer MTX, so his character doesn't look that great. He's wearing a combination of Oriathan sets, and then this is like the last exile, right? Because there's 5 of them, and we know that there's only 4 Watchstones, so this is probably the Chayula rarity boss, and he might drop some really cool stuff. Maybe some Chase Watchstones, maybe some Chase uniques, maybe unique Watchstones can only drop from this guy. Who knows, right? But look how badass he looks. Look at those portals in the background. Those like kind of scuffed reality portals with the Chow's theme. Those might be purchasable on the shop for MTX coins. So really cool here. The Blight League didn't really have endgame bosses, so now they're adding it in, and it's like core to the game along with the Challenge League. So that is pretty badass. Okay, new Atlas mechanics. I just spent a lot of time talking about this. You can go to this image to kind of see how it works. Yellow lines are borders. The colorful gems, red, yellow, blue, and purple, those are basically the Watchstones you socket in to make all your maps red. So if you socket everything, every map is red. Every map is at least tier 14 going up to tier 16. Okay, take a look at this to see like where you might want to proceed, and wait for patch notes as well, because things could change. And these are easily socketable and unsocketable, so you have more control. The one thing is that you probably, for the map, like let's say you just choose a random map that's your favorite, marshes, you probably won't have marshes as like your only T16 in the zone, right? It's just unlikely. So although T16s will be extremely easy to sustain this league, the one that you actually want, your favorite map, might not be the only T16 that you're dropping. So you might have to trade or do some swapping in a group if someone wants to do other T16, or just buy them, right? That's pretty cool. Okay, this is truly insane. These support gems are better than the level 20 ones. At level 1, a support gem plus is better than a level 20 support gem. That's how they described it. There are around 35 of these. Think about that for a second. And they've already shown like some of the pretty good ones. I mean, there's probably going to be Ink AoE. There's probably going to be, some minion ones. There's probably going to be some, it's just like so crazy the possibilities and what they could be. So like it forks again. What the hell? It's like basically adding a chain, okay? It's almost like adding a chain. Ancestral Call, you get another target, right? I don't know if anointments are coming back, but then you add the anointment, so you add even more targets. The Blasphemy is a mana reservation, and and Ink AoE, the added cold is +1 to all cold support skills. So that's like probably 10% more damage right there, along with like 80 something, 60 to 80 something more damage on the top end. So it's like, holy shit, this is insane. This is the new chase supports. This is adding new kinds of power creep. GMP fires 5 proj instead of 4, and think about how much a plus arrow quiver goes for as a corruption, or even some really good ones that are explicit on the, is it Shaper Elder? I can't remember. And so this is like really crazy, and they've said that the XP is a lot more. If you look right here, it doesn't show the XP on here, but basically the XP bar will be, I envision it being like leveling like 2 or 3 empowers or enlightens with, or enhances without any quality on them. It won't actually be that bad, because remember, this is probably going to be a Beyond League, and also remember the power creep of the maps like a Coward's Trial, a Poor Joys. It will be not too tedious to level them, and remember, they're already better than the original supports, so it doesn't even matter if you have a level 1, right? They did say that some special things only unlock at level 5, so for those it might pull a premium if they're already leveled, but just know that this is insane power creep, insanely fun as well, and it could lead to a lot of crazy stuff this league, right? So I'm glad these are actually, remember, this is core to the game. This is not a challenge league, so this kind of power creep is here to stay. I can't wait to see what these 35 are. These drop from the Conquerors. It is a very rare chance to drop from the Conquerors, it seems, but eventually, like, you might find 1 or 2, right? In a league if you play a lot. New influence rare items. Now this is also pretty crazy. So instead of Shaper Elder, you have 4 of these color, like the shiny ones, and basically what that means is they can have specific mods to them. So for example, if you want let's say that you wanted AoE on your quiver, right? You had to get the Elder version of that. So for this, if you want Tailwind on your boots, then what I'm thinking is that Tailwind is probably a hunter's item, so that might be green, right? Or you need a hunter influenced item to roll that mod on there, or you can pull from one of these new Exalted Orbs. These new Exalted Orbs, once again, core to the game. They very rarely will drop from the killing the Conquerors, so you will definitely want to farm the Conquerors quite a bit. And these Exalted Orbs will pull from a random pool of that specific person. So like if we have Tailwind on the boots, right, 10% more attack and cast speed, right? It's 10% animation speed, but for most of us that just means, unless you're like a trapper, miner, or whatever, 10% more attack and cast speed. Okay, so if you have this all the time, the great thing about these is not only do they pull specifically from that Conqueror's pool, but it seems like it doesn't have many rolls, because like if you have Tailwind, there's no numbers in here for like a Divine Orb range, so the pool is smaller and it's more like targeted, right? So that's amazing, but they will be expensive. Extremely powerful, because this will multiply the Gladiator Challenger charges and things like that. I mean, hell, even if you want to be full Papig, you can be a Deadeye and you can just not take Tailwind, right? Because let's say you have a skill you cast once every 4 seconds or something, right? You don't cast it that much, you're not going to get to 20 anyways, so why not just take the 10% Tailwind, and then now you can take those 2 points and go into like Rupture, or like the Pierce, or like the like anything else, right? The accuracy. This one's a +1 power charge, so you can corrupt these enchanted helms, so you can get 2 power charges on your helm. Wow, that's pretty crazy. And this one is the level of gems there, and that's also insane. So I'm guessing there's gonna be some ridiculous stuff on Hunters. Has probably the Tailwind. There's probably gonna be like free Fortify. There's probably gonna be some like free states of your character. Maybe you're always phasing, obviously, or you're always, maybe Onslaught will come back in that way. You're always onslaughted, you're always rampaged. How about that? I mean, if they give you Tailwind, they better give you like Rampage on an item. I mean, come on, right? There's gonna be some insane modifiers in here, and that is what I'm looking forward to. Bow reworks. Okay, so bows have been kind of stagnant for a long time. They added some flat damage to Ice Shot, Lightning Arrow, things like that. They nerfed Tornado Shot a little bit. Chris has specifically said that Tornado Shot is getting mega nerfed this patch, but we're introducing a lot of new rebalancing, because look, it says all, right? They said that they're adding these gems, but then they're rebalancing all the bow gems. So that's gonna be pretty nutty. They teased at some of this stuff at XLCon. We have to wait for the final numbers, but just know that you can do an arrow nova support. That's like basically tornado shotting any skill, but it's kind of like rain of arrows. It has to fall from the sky first. The barrage makes any skill with like multiple barrage into a barrage like thing, so like good for single target. And if you're using a bow, you usually have 2 single targets, so that's pretty good. Ensnaring arrows seems really insane on a range attack totem, or maybe a ballista support, because for bossing especially, probably not for mapping. And if you look through the list of bow skills, like there's so many things that with the across the board rework could be really fun and meaty. I can't wait to see what they do with this. And I'm kind of happy that the reign of TS is now over, right? Ballista is a new playstyle. You can go full Ballista without doing Iron Commander. They're also changing the skill tree to add Ballista stuff, so that's kind of nuts. This one is a Shrapnel Ballista. This one can shotgun, so shotgunning for these skills is now back. This might be more of a bosser than a mapper, seeing based on what I've seen in videos and stuff, but that's pretty cool. New items. I'm not going to talk too much about these because like there's like some new div cards. We don't know all of them yet, but they look pretty damn good, and the uniques look pretty strong. I'll let you guys theorycraft about those, but they said there's like, what was it, 16 or 19 of them, so we're seeing 3 here, and it is very promising, right? Especially with like just looking at the art of the Conquerors League and all that stuff. And then so Metamorph League, I'll make another video about this and talk about my thoughts there, because that is also worth mentioning. They don't have the supporter packs available for purchase right now, so that feels kind of bad. But looking at these, look how good this looks, right? I like the one on the right and the one on the left. 3 in the middle are all right. The one right here, like second to the right, is really cool because in the trailer you can see the back of it, and they should have showed the back as well, because the back with the cloak and little dress thingy would look very good on a female character right here, especially if you replace the helmet with something else. So I think the second to the right is very good for female characters. So I'm excited about these. So that's about it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you have any questions or want to talk about this further, I stream every day on Twitch, twitch.tv/QDog_. You can visit me there. Okay, thanks for watching my video. Okay, bye everyone. Bye.